Ние ли сме? Готови ли сме?
Yeah, and we're back! Welcome everyone to another Jagged Alliance free DevStream live from the Hemimon Game Studio here in Sofia, Bulgaria. I'm your host, Pavel, producer in Hemimon Games, and my guest tonight...
And I'm not Bojan, one of the Bojans, my name is Nelson.
He's also not Pavel, and he's also not Dimitar, so those were the main заподозрени, the main...
Заподозрени, it's a very nice word.
Yes. So
the usual suspects.
The usual suspects, yes, is the correct translation of that. Oh, someone's eyes are not being seen, but you know who this is.
Yeah.
You know who this is. All right, so we have a good show for you tonight. It's a little bit more chill, but we're in the middle of preparing the next patch, so let's not get too excited before that one launches. So, before we start with the interview with Nelson, let's wrap up on what happened before. I already told you that the interview with Fate, or Reni, who is our lead level designer, is already up on YouTube. I think it was up ever since Friday, so go on and check that out. It has a lot of useful info, especially for map editing and all of the tools that if you want to make a map, you will sooner or later have to hit them. So there's a lot of interesting things there. Also, yesterday we continued with Lubo, who came back from holiday, the Happy Little Accidents playthrough, and there was a ton of fun there. So go ahead and check that out. The VOD is still up on Twitch, and it's going to be soon up on YouTube as well. 1.40 is coming up before the holidays, as I already mentioned, but for all of you who want to play on console and have been experiencing some crashes and instability, have in mind that 1.33, a special patch for consoles, released earlier today, I think around noon, and it handles a lot of the crashes that all of the players experienced. So that will significantly improve the experience in terms of stability on those platforms. So go ahead and check that out. If that's something that's been stopping you from playing on console, now it should be a lot better. Hey to everyone and all of the regulars that are here. It's very nice to be here, and today we're going to talk a lot more about the art of Jagged Alliance. So let's jump into the actual guest. Before we start with Jagged Alliance, we have this tradition of just going over, like, what's your story and how did you end up here, basically, as an art director on the project?
Ooh, that's a very long and deep question.
Not longer than Sen, I guess. Not longer than Reni.
I'll try to be brief. I'm involved with Jagged Alliance 3 almost from the beginning. I have been working with the team for close to 20 years, maybe 19, something like that.
How did you end up as an art director? Like, I know that you paint.
Yeah.
You're an artist by heart.
Yes. I've started early on playing video games, and at one point my journey started as maybe most of the other colleagues by asking questions, how are those games made? I think because I was very much into console gaming back then, even though we had a PC, but I'm kind of a Sega Mega Drive kid, and I always wondered how are those little sprites, pixel art sprites made, and one thing led to another, and here am I directing projects. But long story short, in the company, at first I think I joined as a character artist, then an animator for a while, and you name it. I think most of the people inside the company, we've dealt with different aspects of game creation, especially when it comes to art. At one point, maybe this will be interesting. We were working on Victor Vran, and I just went to the CEO and said, could you just try and give me the project? Because we had some.
Like you weren't holding back.
Yes. And look at me now. I think it worked out, and
You always need to be careful when you step up because you don't know what
Yes.
you're getting yourself into.
I didn't. Yes.
Oh.
Don't get me started on being anything but someone who creates and enjoys life.
True.
Yeah.
But still. Claypio, actually, a lot of the guests that are on stream are quite old, not older. I don't want to say older. Have been around longer
For a
than
while,
me in the
yeah.
company. I think that only Pavel G is more recent than me, but otherwise, almost everyone is longer than me. I joined when Jagged Alliance was just getting started, getting off the ground. So yeah, and speaking of Jagged Alliance, that was we've heard this already. Is probably the biggest project that we've had up
By
until
far.
now.
Yeah.
Maybe with Stranded Alien Dawn, it was a similar timeline, but in terms of actual, when one game, Stranded is more system heavy,
Yeah.
Jagged Alliance is more content heavy, so
Yeah.
it has a lot more stuff that goes through the art director.
In
I
terms
guess.
of content, I think we have maybe double the art assets compared to some other previous projects. There's a lot of art that we have created, and there's a lot of art because the way the world is structured, we try to create unique assets for specific regions. And there, for instance, we have like Adobe building set,
Mhm.
which is seen maybe in 2 or 3 maps or something like that.
I know one that there's like a really small building in the center of the map. That's like the best showcase for that one.
Yes. But we early on we wanted to make sure that we have like different, not only different location, but different materials for each and every, let's say, village. And we had to create so much art, which is nice. I think it shows in the end. I think Rennie and the team did a wonderful job using those assets.
I know that in the beginning, Renny already mentioned that like the first map that we had at all, it had like 3 or 4 assets, like the the electricity generator, the one weapon, and I think several base meshes for the characters, and that was it. And then we started making a lot of art, which was, just starting off production so we can experiment. It wasn't real production. It was just, starting off and exploring where we can go. And all of a sudden we figured out, hey, do we have a style direction for this? Or are we just throwing stuff at the wall?
Yes. It's... There are a lot of things, there are a lot of different ways how you can start a project like Jagged Alliance 3. But what we tried, at least for the beginning, parallel to the pre-production where we searched for the style, we kind of started producing some items. We had a very good idea of how objects will feel in the world. We knew that we want to infuse entropy inside everything because the story, the background of Grand Chant was like requiring it. Items are not brand new. You can make a parallel to modern day Cuba. You don't have too much import. You have old cars, and people try to maintain them and fix them, and
because they know they can't buy a new one.
Yes, which brings a lot of charm and a lot of how was it in there's a Japanese say wabi sabi. Everything is a little bit broken, but it has a very unique feel and look to it. So we started in parallel searching for our style. I think I've already mentioned maybe in the previous stream or in the article that it took us some time to figure out how to capture the feeling of the old games and what the third installment aspires to to add to the series.
I remember that some people had really set expectations, like this should be dark, gritty, and stuff like that. Then we went back into the previous games, and we were like, the first one is really colorful. Like that was a sense artifact of the time, I guess, but it was different. The second one had its palitra, its color palette, color scheme. And it still wasn't exactly it. And we were thinking what we want to achieve in terms of those were interesting conversations.
The perception especially for realism, I do believe that it comes not only from visuals. Audio is also involved, and the whole feel of how things are presented is very important, because you could have a very colorful sunset with bright colors and everything like that, and you have a very dark theme of the game, and it will look to you as it is realistic and real-like. So the previous games we went to, of course we played the game a lot, not as much as maybe Buyan. The Buyans, they're like,
I think that's an unattainable goal.
Yeah. But you can see even although the games, especially the first one, looks colorful to the today's standards. Back in the day, it was perceived as very realistic, and you can see how people reacted when the second game came. What is this cartoony, childish-looking game? And this is
like I filled the blanks in my mind different than what you did with the next game.
Yes. In short, people's perception of what realism is, it kind of changes with time. We dabbled in, we tried. I'm not sure if you remember, but we had versions back in, I'm not sure, maybe in the first year, where the game was like all brown and gray. Yeah. We tried so many different styles when it comes to looks, and I'm really glad that Ivana Sen, our technical director, supported us with the perfect tools for us to be able to experiment and try different visions from art direction perspective quickly into the game, because at what we cannot afford especially during development, to redo each and every texture for each and every asset. And we had to figure out a way, and I think that we did a very good. Maybe we will speak about the modding, and I think we have like tools which can help you adjust the visuals to your liking.
We're still coming to grips with the amount of tools that the guys really want to ship. We're thinking like it's gonna be a toned down version, but I think it's gonna be like probably several things are gonna be missing. So it's different.
Only maybe a couple. From what I saw, you guys will have most of the tools.
Before the call, we were looking at like, they probably don't have this editor. And I was like, let's open up and see. And I was like, they have it.
They have it. And they have the full version. Which is really nice. I'm eager to see what people do with those tools.
Oh, definitely. Coming back to your question, not question, but your comment on old stuff that's been weathered and repaired and stuff like that. I still remember the briefs that we had for specific assets that were like used, abused, but well maintained, and it was full of those types of descriptions that we had this issue in the beginning. Like the first assets that came arriving, like they were brand new stock from boxes in a store or something like that. We're like, no, this doesn't happen in Grand Chien.
Yes,
this is no.
For the generator that you mentioned, I think we have like maybe more than 5 or 10 iterations, like completely different, because it took us a lot of time figuring out how we can convey that feeling, that this item was sitting there, it was repaired, it should not look broken, it should not look dirty, it's maintained but old, and something very simple like that can be very time consuming, and I cannot stress enough how much the other art director Mitko taught in our regular meetings for the art team, that we should try and infuse that into each and every
one, yeah.
piece of art.
At some point, we didn't have stuff like biomes and the common direction, and I think that I remember the point where you were actually when we were working with Brad, and you told him like, okay, so this is what we want to do. This is how Grand Chien should look like, a country of contrasts. We've done this presentation on Gamescom and just explained like that Africa is the 41st, 42nd character of the game because it actually brings gameplay, but it also brings this unique feel of that you're playing in a specific place. And I think the key word there was contrast.
Yes, and I think this was huge for us, because before that, what we usually do, we start with an idea. Okay, we want to make the game very gritty and realistic, and this is the core that we are going to use, and we try to subject each and every aspect of the game when it comes to visuals to that idea. But what usually happened, it very quickly started to look like any other military shooter, but not Jagged Alliance.
Yeah.
One of our goals was make the game be true to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, try and make it update it a little bit, make it fresh, and of course capture the B action movie from the 80s, 90s.
That's not something that comes up often, but it's like a huge part of Jagged Alliance.
Of
like
course.
the characters and everything. I think that
it's everywhere.
The initial direction for the gun sounds was actually have it realistic, but have that tin pop that you had in the cliche movies of the 80s and 90s, whether it's Commando or something like. When you go back and listen to that, there's a lot of bang, sounds that are characteristic. And we decided not to go too much in that direction, but grounded in reality is what I remember. Grounded in reality.
But that simple idea, let's try and get the character of the continent and move the art around it. This one simple idea, I think, helped us a lot in order to come up with the dichotomy between wet and dry, and move on and create the world of Grand Chien.
Oh yeah. So there were basically biomes. We had the wet-dry contrast.
Yes, we have the wet and dry like separation of the world, and in each of those groups we have like subgroups for we have like jungles or farmlands, which are they come with different visual language when it comes to lighting, grading, color grading, and how certain assets are used. In jungles, everything is covered in ivies and stuff like that. Not ivies, but leaves and fallen leaves, moss and stuff like that. And in farmlands, everything is covered in mud. On the other side, we have like the dusty shanty towns, the savannas. Yeah. And one, I'm not sure if I have ever mentioned it, but one key aspect also was to make sure that we have movement in the picture. We wanted. That's why when you play, when you're in the jungles, you see that the forest, every leaf is moving with the wind, and when you go to the scorching hot wastelands, everything is a little bit still. And this contrast is also part of that wet and dry play.
I still remember like seeing the first gifs of the characters moving through some tall grass, and the tall grass, or shooting through some tall grass, and then the grass reacting, or shrubs, and it reacting, and everyone was like, "Whoa, that's awesome!" Like
Yeah.
this very small thing, but it makes a ton of difference. That was a lot of work for
Yeah,
the programming team, as far as I know. But
And
Yeah.
for the level designers,
as well, yeah.
yeah, testing.
Yeah, what we want to do with this conversation is actually move into some specific problems, issues, challenges, and how we overcame them, so that because a lot of people, you can when you start creating new campaigns and new maps, you can export new assets. But a lot of the people will use available assets, and not only assets, but all of the things that are by default in the available game already there. So it's more like good to know type of situation. Like we know these things work this way, and they don't work in another way. For instance, I know that you spent probably a week or something in a dark room with one monitor that was calibrated for color and just did lighting
Yes.
models for the different biomes, because all the biomes, depending on the day-night cycle, have different color grading.
Yeah, you have like what we call light models,
Mhm.
which is the daytime, and on top of that you have like stylized lighting for each and every region, and on top of that you have weather extremes. Yeah, so
Systems on top of systems on
I
top of
think in
systems.
the end we have like maybe more than 80. It's a lot.
80
Yeah.
combinations.
No,
80 light models total.
Yes, yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. If especially if you guys want to know something very specific, you can.
Yep.
You
By
can
the
ask
way,
and I
feel
will
free
try
to ask in chat.
Yeah, I will try to answer. But they are very specific things like what we learned, and we always try to maintain in as production.
Mhm.
If we create an asset, let's say, because underneath everything we have a grid, and we can talk about how we try to make the grid not so obvious. But underneath all, there is a grid, and each tile is like 1.2
1.2.
yeah, meters. Yeah, and in that tile, let's say we want to create a bucket or something, maybe something bigger, a wooden crate.
Mhm.
There is a very good reason to make it at least 0.7 meters tall, because
Mhm.
this is where the cover systems kick in.
Yeah.
So you want it to be visible. You don't want it to be too low to the ground, because you have to add collision. Maybe I'm getting too
No.
technical. You have to add
We already
collision.
mentioned it with Reni last week. It was last time. So yeah, she mentioned the 1.7, not the 1.7, 0.7.
Yeah, okay. She
Uh,
already
Yeah,
spoke about that.
there's a lot of stuff that we actually had to, because there was a question like, how did you end up with that number like 1.2 and 0.7? It was basically like that worked.
Yeah, that made sense.
Mhm.
There was a lot of testing before we ended up with those numbers, but in the end, this number kind of fits the idea of a human person crouched to the ground and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's videos. I'm reluctant to share all of the videos, and people also want some early development shots. But that's like a two-edged knife, because we did it one time, and everyone's like, "Oh no, that was a better idea. You should have gone that route."
Yes, I remember
And
that.
then you go like, no. You're not seeing
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the things that we. There's a saying: you stepped on the garden tools once, then you stepped on it twice, then you said, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. So that's the part that you're not
Maybe-
seeing when you're seeing the old concepts.
Maybe not now, but yeah, I would love to share with the communities. Maybe after several years. Okay.
You can share one
Yeah.
experience now. I don't know what you're thinking of, but
No, let's move on.
okay, it's that spicy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's spicy, yeah.
But yeah, so actually, yeah, we want to give some ideas of how people can use the assets that are already available. For instance, the dichotomy that Nelson was saying is that you have really dry and really wet places. You have the different lighting models that really are the final stretch of a map. Like the level designers could have done an amazing job, and then you have to see them under all of the lighting conditions, because some things don't really stand out when you're using, let's say, the default day model, the default day, let's say, lighting. But then nighttime combat or stuff like that, when they pop in, you're like, okay, that doesn't look right.
Yes.
So you need to rework them.
Especially when it comes to stealth.
Yes.
Yeah, everything. There was so much back and forth with Buyan, because at first I've made the night lighting, let's just say, call it this way, because we call it white models, but the night lighting, we've made it to be brighter than what it should be.
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't see what's going on.
Yeah. And we want you, if you venture into the savannah with your mercenaries, we want you to be able to see. But and we've made all white models for every region with that idea. And at some point, the new stealth mechanic kicked in, and there was a requirement. You should be able to see where an area is in the dark and where it's lit. Oh my gosh. Here we go again. Yeah. It was so much iterations before we ended up in a situation where, because there we cannot place artificial sources of light every Higgs meters in every jungle, and it wouldn't make any sense. So you should.
Plus, it's very taxing.
Yes, and
Sen told us how expensive lighting is, extra lighting is.
Yeah, but we try to. You can do whatever you want. Ivana Sen won't tell you anything, but in the end, you still want to make sure that the players can see where artificial lighting isn't present. So it's a challenging task, let's just say. I think the tools that you guys have will be very useful. Yeah.
So basically, there's a lot of systems here. I can list out several that you can expect in the next patch. One is like the art editors, not the art editor, but the items that's the editor that handles all of the items. That you have all of the entity information there. You've kind of seen them if you've created a mod for a weapon, because you export a new entity. So you can do that for a different context, not specifically for a weapon that's being used. Actually, we have some weapons that are used as props throughout the map.
Yeah.
Oh, I can actually see it on the Waska, on the Jeep here, in the loading screen where Falda is leaning back. So there's a lot of those there. We were talking about the particle systems where you can make specific particles for different situations. I remember when we had the gunshots, that specific muzzles, leave different flares, and it was fun for me, but it was extra work for some people that thought that was, too fine a detail, and they had larger fish fry. So
I do remember you pestering me about one specific special effects. I think it was for the RPG. When you shoot a rocket, there's a second explosion.
Yeah, because the RPG-7, when it flies out, there's an initial, propellant, and then the actual rocket, flares, and it continues.
And not only that, I think we've added a small metal part that flies specifically in that moment. From the second boost.
It's a smoke particle. It's not.
No,
a part.
we have.
We have a part?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a ton of stuff that you can do if you want to go that deep.
Yeah, you have the ability to create particles, and also, of course, link them to specific. They're two different editors, and link them to a specific event. Let's say every other step, a merc when he or she steps into the water, confetti fly out or something like that. If you do a headshot, I think. Yeah.
It's like, I don't like violence, so instead of blood,
Make it-
I will have confetti.
Yeah. Or candy.
Or candy, yes. Oh, Livewire is gonna like that. But yeah, there's a ton of other stuff there. The destruction system Reni mentioned, it was challenging because of the propagation of the destruction, but I still remember when you made the first explosions that toppled buildings or walls. Let's go with walls because buildings are bigger things. There's a bunch of already set. What do we call them? Like the different sets of construction, like the shanty wall, the Adobe set. Are they sets or what's the correct term for them? The construction set, yeah. So there's a bunch of those that you can do.
Yeah, you can create rooms and floors. And one other very useful in combination with the grading, I think you can completely, not completely, but almost completely change the look of the game. You can try and recreate Jagged Alliance 2 if you want.
In terms of the color palette, or
yes, we call it the environment core palette, if I'm not mistaken. And you can, because the way we create assets for the game, I've mentioned this in the beginning, we kind of make them in a neutral gray color. And most of the color that you see in the game is added throughout those editors. So if you want, you can say I want each and every tree top in this map that we are looking at to be red, and you can do that very easily. You don't need to go and load up textures and load up Photoshop or Substance. You can do it inside the game very quickly, very easily. I think this will be very huge for the community. Most of the art is made with that in mind. So we have like we have three channels. One for the main core. For instance, this vehicle, you have like the main core, you have like the dirt, and you have the weathering. And you can say, I want my car to be pink and the weathering to be gold.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, but I think this is very... it's like using very big brush strokes. You can very quickly change the look of the whole map.
I've actually seen people take advantage of this currently. I think it was the Legion Variety Pack, where it just took available assets from the appearance editor, but it colored them, like the variations just by color, and the combinations of the different tops, bottoms, and I don't know if they're heads or top. There was heads and also elements on the head, like hats. It was... I was impressed. There is a lot of variation that can be done with available assets purely with combinations.
Yes, but imagine, let's say someone just wants, he or she listens to me and say, I don't like the idea about the wet and dry. I want to make the savanna be lush and green. You can do it. You can do it like in the afternoon. And I have tried it. It works. You can make it as green as what we are seeing right now.
Oh, yeah.
Very quickly.
Archimedes is also mentioning the roughness and metallic channels. That those sliders are also powerful. Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with those.
Yeah, make everything from gold.
Yeah, gold guns.
Those gold guns. Actually. Gold everything.
I didn't know that some people actually, done trophy guns that are gold.
Gold people, gold particles.
Maybe it's like androids. If someone wants to make...
I'm not sure if... Okay, I'll just say something that I find funny. I'm not sure if you remember when Diablo 3 was developed, and the community was a little bit enraged by how colorful it looked, and they've made a whole level, secret level, the cow level with like rainbow, like it's almost from a cartoon, like the rainbow row. Someone can try and do this, make the game in the rainbow colors.
I haven't played it. I've watched like a lot of plays.
It was a thing. It
Oh,
was a thing, yeah. But yeah, sorry for that.
Yeah.
I digress, yeah.
Oh, but yeah. And as far as I know, if you want to edit an element, an entity, it just propagates it on everywhere it's used.
Mhm.
Reni told us that, for instance, the entity that's just the mesh, like the actual mesh and texture, is not the same as, let's say, the lighting sources, and you attach one to the other.
Mhm.
Also, a lot of the functionalities is just added on top of it, so you can do a lot of fun combinations with available assets that work in a different ways. Like, you don't have this object only does this, and when you place it, the game logic is set. It's actually detached, so you can mix and match what you want. You can probably make the AK-47 leaned on a wall and attach an object that's the effect of a trap.
Mhm.
And stuff like that. So it's too powerful in a way, because I, for instance, haven't made any maps, haven't gone too deep besides the weapons category in a way, and I easily get lost in all of the stuff that can be done. So yeah.
Me too. I'm the same, yeah.
Any way to read the vanilla entity files without using funky exporters? I'm not sure. Being able to read the spot locations would be helpful sometimes. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We can ask, or if someone of the colleagues is online, he wants to answer, feel free to do so as well. But yeah, vegetation is. Sorry, I'm just jumping to the next topic because in my head I'm already there. But yeah, vegetation is also something that's very interesting, and it adds a lot of flavor to a lot of the maps. I can't stop mentioning that it was actually a lot harder than some other assets that look more complex, but in actuality it's a huge task. And then when you see them just chopped off from the camera.
One thing that is maybe
Breaks your
important
heart.
to mention when it comes to vegetation and importing assets into the game, you guys will have to take into account the wind system. And I think it's in the entity editor, where you describe your asset. There should be a segment for wind, which controls how stiff, how much it is affected from the wind.
Yeah.
And of course, you can use it by design how it is and make.
Just copy the existing one.
Or you can try and add like wooden crates that sway by the wind.
I didn't ask Hassan that, but I have this.
Make a level made of cheese, and everything like wobbles
and sweat.
Just throwing ideas here. Everybody, all my ideas were cut.
I remember with the wind when it was introduced, I was really impressed that I think that the approach for visualizing the wind was actually that the mesh itself doesn't move. It's just the visualization in the final layer of it.
Yeah, there are like 3 systems, if I'm not mistaken, controlling the wind. One is the general sway of the trees and everything. I think we have a very specific one for the grass. And we have one which handles the interaction between bullets, mercenaries when they walk through it. Yeah. Because if you shoot through maybe 5 or 6 scripts, they will sway. Yeah.
Reni also told us that there is a way to, it's not propagate, but how to fill in. By the way, that's rain. Another DevStream where when we have rain. if something that's something you're hearing. Just placing the objects, there is also a system that allows you to add variety
Yeah.
in an automatic way, so that you don't have to rely entirely on hand picking all of the objects and where they go, because that can be really tedious. I'm still impressed with when I look at some of the maps, and because I'm testing a very specific thing, and I don't want to load up the empty map and use it there. I'm
Who
just
needs
using
that?
the map that I
Yeah.
have. And when I place an object, I can't even select it because, for instance, there are 5 decals and 10 objects in
Filters.
that specific little space and spot markers.
Yeah. Filters. They're your friends.
Yes.
They're your friends.
If you want to make maps with this amount of detail, at least the engine handles it, and it will be working. But it's a little bit hard when it comes to editing. So those tools that automate some of that, I don't know if propagation is the correct word for it, but those will help. Those will help.
Yeah, they will help. But one thing that we tackled with Rennie. If you scatter, let's say, an empty field with just a random collection of, let's say, because you can choose, like, I want trees, rocks, grass, and whatever, it will create, it will kind of look okay, but it will distribute the detail like each and every Higgs meter. So yeah. And it will look boring. So you have to, what we always try as a philosophy for level design, how we make the game feel a little bit more pleasant to the eye. Always try and group things into like small pockets of interest. Yeah, you have like mid-sized pocket of interest. You have like big ones like the tower in front of Igor. And if you observe, you have empty spaces between them, and this rhythm is very, very important. It's a side note, but I just wanted to to share. Yeah,
That's the kind of thing that is stuff that we learn along the way.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if that's the right approach until you've tried it, and then when you've discovered it, that this is the way it works better, like in a better experience in terms of gameplay, in terms of it looks better, then you know what you're doing, but you have to go through the process and figure it out.
I'm not sure if you remember, but I think one of the first iterations of Ernie Islands, you could, and this was, let's say, this was an issue with the visuals, because when you play, you could not distinguish your mercenaries from everything, because everything was covered in stuff. We had very cool assets, and we wanted to use them everywhere, and everything was, and everywhere was littered with grass, shrubs, branches, stones, and it took us a lot of careful discussions, analyzing our maps to figure out that we need a rhythm, we need empty spaces, then we need like mid-size islands of interest and bigger ones. Yeah,
but when you're making a game, it also, like, when you're talking about readability, it's like, it's realism when you have camouflage and people blend in with their surroundings, but tell that to the people who are playing and they can't find their freaking guys, and you can't control them. It's like one thing suffers.
Yeah, that's the idea of shadow.
Yes, only shadow is allowed to blend in.
I'm not sure if people have catch up, if they saw it, but shadow, when he's in a wet environment, his camo is green. When he goes to
the savannah,
his camo is warm. Yeah.
What was it? It's tan? No.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the correct military term.
Because he's a professional.
Of course.
It's his job.
Yeah.
I think that also included his face paint, right?
Yeah. In the portrait, of course.
Yeah. The portrait was probably easier than the face paint, though. Let's not go into those categorizations that Ivana Sen really likes. Easy, fast, and simple.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but yeah, it's amazing what you can do with the same assets, but just used within different systems. In terms of the mercs, what do you think? Was it harder than the environment? I think so. Like the actually getting those in the game and figuring out what we want them to be was quite a challenge.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was a challenge. I'm not sure it was harder, but it was hard.
Mm.
Again, so many discussions. Like for a simple garment or outfit for just one mer, because at some points I think we had like 10 or more variations for a single one.
Mm.
And it took us like 3 weeks regular discussions about how the pants should look, how in the 2000s nobody
Dressed that way.
dressed that way. There are no tight pants, tight jeans. It was a challenge. One of the most difficult things was when we designed outfits, they often ended up looking what we call NPC-like.
Mm.
And that special sauce that made them to be a character and to make them Jagged Alliance, because at first they should look Jagged Alliance, like especially for all the mercenaries from previous installments. And there were so many occasions where we've made something that we think is very nice, and we are constantly, oh,
No, this is not this character.
That's not this character. That's not him or her. So make sure that to make sure that it feels Jagged Alliance, to make sure that it feels from the era, from the 2000, make it make him or her interesting. It was like it was challenging, and in the same time very interesting, because going back then and seeing all those straight jeans and crop tops and all that stuff was
Disheartening.
yeah. No.
Oh, but Pain is warning, you have no idea. Like the 2D character art, because to get to the 2D character art, that was probably the last step.
Yeah.
Because we had the exploration, we had the faces, like we needed to really figure out how these 2D portraits that were really small, like first to upscale them, see if this is the correct, version or vision of this person, then to build them up, then to, assemble the outfits, because we call them outfits, but they're basically like the tops and the bottoms of the characters, yeah. We joked around today that there's not a naked Jagged Alliance mod because there's nothing underneath the clothes. It's just, the actual characters' outfits. And then when you have the assembled character like you see in the loading screen here, you actually need to pose them to upscale them, because maybe they're in a special pose that is okay for the game when you're, in action, but probably there's a really small artifact here where the mesh is folded, and you need to really be able to touch that up before you actually capture that, and then you need to go to the 2D. Yes,
yeah. I do remember Mitak going out of poses for the mercenaries, because we wanted to make sure that each and everyone has a very unique pose, and which is typical, and the pose should convey the character of the merc. And how many poses like that you can do? It was time consuming, and there are very different stages, and mostly they are not done by a single person. So you have to wait. Let's approve the outfit, then let's approve the model. Then, as you said, when we are ready with the pose and the model, we jump into ZBrush and try and touch the finer details, make sure that it looks really nice for the big screen.
Coordinator has an interesting question. How did the interpretation process progress, I guess? Like there's no 100% documentation on what is what. Like how did you interpret someone's hairstyle? Were you like sitting there with a couple of people interpreting the pixels one way or the other? Yes, a lot of that is yes.
Yes.
Pixels were very important because the old portraits were basically, 64 by 64? Or a little bit larger. That was one thing. The bouillons really helped out because we think we know the franchise and the characters, but they know them in so much more depth than we do.
They're like almost like in a relationship with the mercenaries. Yeah. And
spicy.
do you remember when it came to the voices? And
yes.
Yeah. It's a very specific thing that there are not a lot of games that can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a very beloved characters. And of course, yes, you have them in, let's say, 80 by 80. I don't remember what was the resolution, but people have an image inside their head.
Yes.
How this should look in full-size HD image. And for each and every one, we had discussions. We always try to, as Pavel mentioned, we first try to upsize the image.
Mm-hmm.
Our 2D guys did a magnificent work there. And then we sit with the bouillons and other key people in the team, and we discuss if this is the correct approach for this character.
Speaking of the hairstyles, like I know that some of the old, because I was also involved with the character assets, some of the old portraits didn't really portray the hairstyle of a lot of the mercs, but you have to have in mind that hair is probably one of the most difficult and expensive things to do in games. Like, we couldn't afford to have long hair that's braided, have physics attached to it so that it sways. So there's a lot of limitations there. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to have them fit into the context. Like, do you have headgear on? And do you have... There's the stuff that needs to take into account before you go there.
And one last thing, but I think very important thing is that there were times where we took artistic liberties because people evolve.
Yep.
When I was young, I had a very different hairstyle.
No way.
No. Yeah. Shocker.
Shocker, yes. Yeah. Hitman gained some weight.
I think I had a mohawk at some point.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was actually also a challenge in terms of how those characters evolved in the several years between the last installment. We've had discussions on that as well.
But the biggest challenge was to make them, of course, true to the Jagged Alliance and don't make them look boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not being boring is probably the main thing there, because you can make something that some people won't like, but if it's something boring and no one is really doesn't have an opinion on it, that's way worse.
Yeah, that's way worse.
That's way worse.
I really hope that we've done a good service to the characters from the old games.
Yes. Love or hate, we got that right. Yeah, that's that kind of game. People really enjoyed it back in the day. They have their own perception of the things that were in their heads, because Jagged Alliance 2 was so limited by its time and its technology that when you put it into a 3D engine and have a lot of the detail that's common nowadays and you expect it nowadays, you're thinking like, my brain didn't fill those gaps up the same way that you did in the game. So it's a fun time when you read the comment section. Any specific questions that the chat has, like we're trying to keep up? Probably we're not seeing everything. Those are bugs, sorry. I mean the notifications that you hear. Oh, so what's the merc that you're most proud of after seeing how they ended up? What's your favorite child?
I really like Buns. I'm not sure why. It's not like she's my favorite. Oh my, this is hard. I like MD, but I like him as a character.
You like him as a friend.
As a friend. I would go with Grizzly.
Grizzly.
I think Grizzly encapsulates the whole mentality of Jagged Alliance action, 90s, 80s action movie look. Very good. Yeah. I think Grizzly is one of my favorites, but I'm in love with Buns.
Every time someone asks me that question, I think I give a different answer because I think of different situations during development or during gameplay that I've had.
And you? I'm curious.
Fidel is probably my most colorful character in terms of because of his lines and because of his, actual things that he does.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of bland for me as a appearance.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, but it's not really that characteristic thing. Who's more interesting? I mean, there are a lot of people that are more interesting. I don't know. And from the latest playthrough, I kind of really remembered how colorful Steroid is. The trope with the Polish fireman is is quite good, and he plays the Duke Nukem substitute a little bit better than I ever expected.
Do you remember our discussion regarding his voice in the first iteration?
In the first iteration is good because we had a lot of those. But I mentioned yesterday on stream with Lubo that I just noticed one exchange between him and Tex because I didn't play that combination before, and it's like Tex asks Steroid, say the name, say the line. Which line? The one from the movie with the swords and the sorcerers. I told you that is not me, and if you don't listen, then to hell with you. So it's basically like a throwback to it, which was, I was around and I heard a lot of the lines, but that was like something that you didn't notice, and then you go through the game, and then you discover something new. It was like, that's so cool.
Oh, sorry. I'm just remembering how he used to sound when he was shouting.
Yes. Some of the lines in the beginning were a little bit loud.
It was in character for him.
Yeah, but it got old.
But he was like shouting at you all the time. He was too excited.
Yeah, though. Is very colorful in terms of his backstory and his behavior, definitely. In Jagged Alliance, he became openly weird, yes. Well, that's the progression. Go from bad to worst. I think... I'm not sure whether the voice actor is Polish. But I like to tell this story. We actually work with, because we don't have the capacity, to do the full QA in-house. We work with a Polish studio that does the QA for Jagged Alliance, and we used it like when we recorded several lines, and then we shot the lines towards the guys in QA in Poland. They're like, "Yes, this is Mr. Guntarski. Go, do it."
The green light.
Yes, we were like, okay, so it really fits. Yes, Claypiel, we'll figure something out. We're a little bit reluctant to show old versions of UIs, for instance, because that's a slippery slope. But maybe at some point, who knows? You want to wrap up?
maybe let's take
Maybe some questions, yeah.
several more questions.
But in another context, like we're gonna ship the modding tools, and if someone says, "Hey, you should have done it this way," like go for it.
Go for it, yeah. Especially now, you
Yeah.
can do almost everything by yourself.
I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit scared.
Oh, I'm very hopeful. I cannot wait for people to get the tools into their hands. I think maybe after 2 years, you have to. I would like to play Jagged Alliance 2 in Jagged Alliance 3, or maybe the first one.
Well, I know that some people are really interested in having
Yeah.
Jagged Alliance. You should have just made Jagged Alliance 2 in a new engine. Okay.
Yeah, you can do it, of course.
It does allow you to do that. The vehicles are not... Actually, you have several vehicles.
What do you mean by vehicles? To interact with them, to drive
No,
them?
they had... Yes, they had vehicle transport.
I know, but
yeah.
This is going to be very difficult. And the reason is like level design.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's mainly...
You have to rethink the whole everything. Yeah. Yeah.
On satellite view, yes.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it in the map, Wasteland 3 had vehicles in the way on the tactical map, and you can see the drawbacks of that because that one was probably around 12 voxels or whatever they call them in Wastelands. And for instance, the Jeep here is around 6 minimum, so that limits your passability in a lot of different places. So basically you just enter the map, and then if the map is not made for having a vehicle, it's like,
Yes,
why
but-
do you have it?
Yes, but the helicopter part.
Someone
maybe.
helicopter part can be just satellite view and then some lines being dropped on the spawn point.
And, and particle. It's how it's done. You can even add. I think. Maybe someone can.
Maybe you can add a suppressive fire from if you leave someone up in the helicopter. You probably not visualize it because come on. But
And you can use the wind system to make the grass underneath sway.
getting the creative juices flowing.
Some site, yeah, I think you can do that. You can do that. You can.
Yep. All right. Anything else that you guys would like to know?
Can we show the mod, or is it too early?
You know what? Let's show them up. Let's show them the mod. I think this is updated. Otherwise, what's next? ClayPL, next week we're having a stream with Boyan, who will talk more about the upcoming patch 1.40 and the satellite view that's ahead. And Rado is also going to be here and talk a lot about narrative design and the stuff that's in his wheelhouse. So let's say, let's just call it stream test.
It's going to be a very, very spicy stream.
Very spicy. So this is basically the mod editor, like you've seen it, but now there's a lot more stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
All of these are mod items that you can
Interact with, yeah.
interact with, yes. From decals, game rules, entities, emails, UI, which is the X templates,
Particles, light.
particles, yes, Localization. Don't worry, you don't need to take a screenshot. You'll have it soon enough.
Yeah.
Can you change Shadow's hairstyle?
Yeah,
You can.
you can.
If you export the another hairstyle, you can probably change it on all of the characters in the game. Everyone needs a mohawk. But yeah, I think this is a good teaser to end off, like showing what's in store. It's not here, is it?
Which one?
Ambient life. Avoid it like the plague. All right. Pum pum pum. All right. So guys, stay tuned for next week. We are having the normal slot on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to have some other news regarding the level design, not the level design, regarding the satellite view news that we already mentioned with Luo yesterday, some of the changes that are coming before the holidays in 1.40. So we're going to drop them somewhere in one of our media, probably Twitter, Facebook, and the likes, probably on Discord as well. So stay tuned for that, so you can get a sneak peek before the patch launches. So that's going to be fun, and hope to see you guys next week. Cheers from us, from snowy Sofia, which wasn't snowy
Is it
2
raining
hours
or
ago.
snowy?
I think it's snowing, but the building is hot, and you can hear the drips from... Anyway, so yeah. Talk to you next week, guys, and yeah, see you around. Bye.
Bye-bye.